Hey, welcome back. I'm Ferrikster, here to bring you some more Pokemon Go GBL battles. These battles are played in Open Great League, and I am trying out one of the new Pokemon. I'm trying out Dubwool. It's not technically a new Pokemon. We've had it for a long time. It was just unusable, so no one ever used it. Now they gave it Double Kick, and with that, along with all of the move changes, Dubwool is actually totally usable. By the way, if it's not pronounced Dubwool, if it's pronounced Dubwool or something, too bad. Complain to me in the comments down below. So, I am leading with Dubwool for these sets, and in the back I have a regular non-shadow Nidoqueen with its standard moveset, and I have an Azumarill. And while I normally run Azumarill with Ice Beam and Play Rough, I decided to try this out with Hydro Cannon or Hydro Pump because I wanted to it to have a better matchup against the steals like Registeel, which would be a problem, and against G-Fisk, which would also be difficult. Kind of an awkward lead for Dubwool, which is interesting because they gave it a fighting fast move, but I guess we'll cover that when we get to it. So, the new move, Double Kick. So, Double Kick was added to the game, and it was given to a lot of Pokemon. I think like 7 or 8 of them got it. Dubwool is the only one that got it that is, I would say, meta-ish for Great League. And it mostly gets carried by just, Double Kick's ability to charge Body Slam so fast. So Dubwool is doing most of its damage with Body Slam, and if it can't do that damage with Body Slam, its coverage move of Wild Charge can get a lot done also. Body Slam is a very efficient move and has stab, but Wild Charge is like very, very efficient. So if it's against neutral targets, Body Slam is slightly out DPS'd, or not DPS'd, out DPE'd, damage per energy. You get slightly more damage per energy out of Wild Charge if they're both hitting for neutral. But, since Wild Charge debuffs, you do the bulk of your damage with Body Slam. So in this first game, I ended up sending Azumarill out into a Nidoqueen. They swapped out to a Lantern, which is the other Pokemon that I would say is the most meta Pokemon that's new. They gave Lantern Surf, and it charges those Surfs pretty quickly. Gets to them in 5 sparks, and takes 7 sparks to get to a Thunderbolt. So yeah, let's hop into this game. Dubwool into Medicham. This is a terrible matchup for Dubwool. Being a normal type, I take super effective damage from Counter. And Counter, by the way, is a much better fighting type move than Double Kick is. Like, Double Kick is a good move on paper, right? Like, it's like Hex, but with a little bit more damage. But it's not Counter. Counter is a far superior fighting type fast move. Anyway, my opponent is going to, I correctly shield the Psychic, and then my opponent is going to swap out to their Drapion. I don't know why they didn't swap their Drapion in a lot faster. They could have banked a move with Medicham, but I guess they just want to be able to ensure swap for sure. This Drapion is packing Aqua Tail. So a Drapion will almost universally have Crunch. So now that I've seen Aqua Tail, I can kind of assume Crunch Aqua Tail. So I really just, I decide to get shields down, throw my Earth Power, swap out, catch on Dubwool. This swap involved like some degree of luck because they didn't throw the Aqua Tail as soon as they had it, but I just wanted to throw it when I felt like they would feel like they were pressured to based on how much energy I was building up, and then they're going to swap in their Medicham. Throw this Psychic, wasn't quite able to get my Wild Charge out in time. Now I'm going to spam this out as soon as I can, but I still end up eating a Counter anyway, which is actually fine because that means this Drapion, only gets 1 Poison Sting of energy. And I'm going to send a Azumarill out into Drapion, which is normally a terrible matchup, but since I already saw Aqua Tail and I'm assuming Crunch, Azumarill doesn't actually take... It takes resisted damage from both of those things. So while I'm taking super effective damage from Poison Sting, which doesn't do that much damage because it's a clone of Mudshot, this matchup is actually fine. Turns out there is a Shadow Skuntank in the back, so yeah, good thing I was able to build up all of this energy. I'm going to throw this Hydro Pump. It does a ton of damage. And Azumarill also takes resisted damage from all of Skuntank's fast moves, Crunch and Flamethrower. So I'm going to bank a move on Azumarill, swap out, and I'm able to get to this Earth Power, so that's going to be able to close things out against this Drapion. But yeah, Azumarill, pretty decent against 2 poison types in the back, if they don't have super effective charge moves. Alright, Dubwool into Lantern. So this is a matchup you would never have seen until this season, season 12. Dubwool gets to its body slams in like the equivalent of 4.5 sparks because it gets to them in, 3 double kicks. And my opponent swaps out into Tropius and catches the body slam on Tropius, which I'm fine with. So I'm going to build up my energy again before swapping out. And I would have loved to be able to send Azumarill out into something just because Azumarill gets so walled by Lantern, especially because I'm not even carrying Play Rough, so it's even worse against Lantern. This is honestly probably not the best time in the meta to be trying out Azumarill without Play Rough. I don't really know if like my thought process on choosing that was the best. But, I'm trying to focus on learning Dubwool and getting a good feel for its matchups. So, if my Azumarill doesn't perform as well as it could against some other Pokemon that are pretty meta, like Lantern, then, I'll just deal. It'll be fine. So, Lantern gets to these Surfs in 5 Sparks. And the reason I'm building up to Earth Power and then baiting Poison Fang over and over again is because since I know this Lantern is going to kind of not outpace me, but, if it's super safe for them to just double shield and safe for me to double shield, and I'll just pressure them so they have to throw their Surf before they get to, 2 moves banked. Then I can bring Dubwool in, and now that I have shields down, I'm going to be able to unload my energy, and there is an Umbreon in the back, so finally my Azumarill will have a place to go. All the same, I could swap out to Azumarill right away, and my opponent would probably leave, but I'm just going to stay in with Dubwool, try to get a feel for how it works. Throw some of these double kicks, which you can see, even though they're super effective, they really just don't do that much damage. It just doesn't have the damage output that Counter does. But all the same, I got, 2 body slams off. You can see it did about 50% of Umbreon's health. So, that tells me, all right, 4 body slams and a bunch of double kicks should be fine. So if I encounter Umbreon in the lead, I'll be slightly more prepared. And this Umbreon is also carrying Psychic instead of Last Resort, which doesn't change anything for Dubwool, but, makes it slightly better against the Azumarill, I guess. I'm going to throw the Hydro Kick Pump, and, I'm just going to bubble down. And my opponent is just staying in with Umbreon. I don't know. I pause here to see if they want to retreat so their Umbreon doesn't get pummeled, but they were staying in. So, all right, I'm going to throw my last bubble, and that's a GG. I feel bad. I gave them ample opportunity to get their Umbreon out of there. Okay, so we hop into this next game because I started the recording late, but all that happened was this was the lead. I threw a Body Slam as soon as I could, and they shielded it. And then they swap out and catch the next Body Slam on their Trevenant, which is so awkward for me because I don't really have a great answer for Trevenant. I stay in because I'm dumb. I should have just swapped out to Nidoqueen right away. I don't know why I'm staying in there. And then I catch a Seed Bomb, which hits Nidoqueen for neutral anyway, so it's not doing me any favors. And that means that they were so far ahead of me on energy that they're gonna get to the Seed Bomb, which CMPs me with the Poison Fang. So if they decide to shield this, it'll be so awkward for me. But luckily for me, they let it go. And I'm going to let this Seed Bomb go. I'm going to come back out with Dubwool and farm the Trevenant back down. So my Dubwool has tons of energy. Did I need to do any of what I did with Dubwool? No, it probably wasn't the best idea. There's a G-Fisk in the back, which is so awkward for my Dubwool to deal with. So I'm going to swap out into Azumarill. I'm going to no-shield this first move because Shadow Swampert usually carries Earthquake, but this one does not. This one is carrying Sludge Wave. In a meta where they added Lantern and Earthquake would one-shot, they're running Sludge Wave anyway. It's usually regular Swampert runs Sludge Wave and Shadow Swampert runs Earthquake because it allows you to one-shot Registeel, allows you to one-shot Stunfisk, and you could one-shot Lantern. So yeah, not the best calls for me in this game. This particular game I completely botched. Was so unprepared for a Trevenant safe swap. I should have just swapped Nidoqueen in right away. Shouldn't have tried to stay in and build up energy and then catch a Seed Bomb on Nidoqueen. It was so awkward. And Dubwool into G-Fisk is such an awkward matchup. That was terrible. That wasn't a GG on my behalf. Well played by my opponent, but I did not. All right, so G-Fisk in the lead, right? The matchup that I was just saying is very awkward for Dubwool. We're going to see it play out in the lead. So double kick, super effective. Not doing that much damage though. So, you know, getting some damage in. I'm going to no-shield the first move. Turns out to be an Earthquake. And I'm just going to build up all of my energy, and then I'm going to swap out. Because Dubwool's Body Slam is resisted, and Wild Charge is not a coverage move for G-Fisk, so I'm just going to swap out. They throw their Earthquake, I let it go. They farm up a tiny amount of energy on G-Fisk, and then swap out. And I'm fine with that. So, you know, unlimited energy, Dubwool will get to double kick again later. You know, I've done what damage I can, and G-Fisk is swapped out without too much energy. They swap in their Azumarill, and their Azu is running Play Rough, and mine is running Hydro Pump, so this is obviously not the best matchup for my Azu. All the same, just makes sense to go straight Hydro Pump, because obviously they're not going to shield. And then I swap it into Dubwool, and I'm going to throw the Wild Charge. This is going to debuff me, and I'm fine with that. I'm expecting G-Fisk to come back out. I'm already in Rock Slide range, so it doesn't hurt me. And they actually send out an Obstagoon instead, which makes some sense because Obstagoon is pretty bad against the Azumarill, although my Azu is super low anyway. They're going to farm me the whole way down. I'm supposed to be able to throw that Body Slam at the end there, but like that mechanic is super, super inconsistent. So, not surprised I wasn't able to get that fired off. I am going to no-shield this first move, and it turns out to be an Obstruct. Which isn't really necessary, because the Stunfisk that's going to come out would be able to take me out with one Earthquake, whether I was obstructed or not. And they decided to no-shield, trying to call my bait. So I was able to land that Earth Power on G-Fisk, take them out. That Night Slash did a little bit more damage than we're used to seeing, because, reminder, I am still debuffed from the Obstruct. Gonna throw this Poison Fang, and then I'm just gonna swap out to clear my debuff. Azumarill's gonna bubble down. I would save both of my shields for Nidoqueen, and my opponent resigns the game, recognizing they're not gonna be able to take this one. That is a GG. So, managed to go 4-1 in that set. I get a Ralts, which is fine. You know, in the early, you can't get legendary encounters until you hit rank 20, so, you know, you're not gonna get anything super amazing in these early sets anyway. So I don't mind Ralts at all. So, all right. Next up, Dubwool into Swampert. So we missed the first part of the last time I had Swampert in the lead. Here it is playing out from me recording at the correct time. So 3 double kicks to get to my first Body Slam. It comes out a half a turn before they get to their first Hydro Cannon. So I slightly outpace there. They throw with really not optimized fast move timing, so I get a full fast move for free. Hydro Cannon lands. I could have spammed out my my Body Slam, and you know, maybe that would have been the sensible thing to do, but I decided to just, you know, try to throw my move so that my opponent doesn't get a bunch of free turns. That does mean that I ended up going down a shield, but now I've still got a Dubwool, and I have some energy, and a Walrein is going to come out, so that is fine with me. I'm going to throw this Wild Charge right away before they get to their Icicle Spear, and they let it go. And now I'm going to spam out this Body Slam as soon as I can, just because I don't want them, I want to at least force a shield out of them, and I've done so much damage. They decide to just throw their Icicle Spear anyway, recognizing that maybe they're not going to be able to farm me down at this point. And now I'm going to send in my Azumarill, because as much as that's going to enable them to reach an Earthquake, I would still rather take an Earthquake on Azumarill and have energy on Azu than take an Icicle Spear on Nidoqueen and only have 2 Poison Fangs of energy. And then there's an Altaria in the back, so it didn't really matter what I did. I swapped out into Nidoqueen because, I mean, Azu would have obviously just Ice Beamed this Altaria out of existence. My opponent had no play at all, but I ended up swapping out to Nidoqueen, so, because I was like, oh, you know, I was already like, my swap to Nidoqueen was premeditated, because I was like, well, you know, they have 1 Pokemon left, I'll swap out the Nidoqueen and debuff them. So, you know, and save my shield for Azu, even if it's something that was, you know, that my Azu would have been good against. But then I decided to just play out the ones, which turns out I'm able to win if my opponent no shields. And, yeah, managed to take that game. That's GG. I don't know. Awkward way to play out the end matchup there, but it was fine. I was totally safe. Okay. Dubwool into Ninetales. So this Ninetales is actually running Powder Snow, so that's kind of unusual. All the same, I'm just going to spam out my Body Slam right away. So it would take 1 Body Slam plus 1 Wild Charge to take them out. If I throw my next Body Slam as soon as I have it, they'll still survive with a little bit. But they end up getting to their second Weather Ball, so I'm just going to let that go. And since I've thrown these extra double kicks, now they're going to be in Body Slam range, and they swap out to catch the move on G-Fisk, which is fine. Like, I could stay in here and farm up do a little bit of damage and farm my energy back up. But I only build up enough energy to leave with a wild charge in case I need to throw that at something right away. And then I swap out into my Azu. I'm going to no-shield these Earthquakes. Don't really know what else is back there and don't want to end up accidentally shielding a Rock Slide. And I'm just going to go straight for the Hydro Pump because if I throw the Ice Beam, they will survive. And they shield. So that tells me they maybe don't have the best answers to Azu, so I am going to shield this. Turns out to be an Earthquake, so good shield on me. And this G-Fisk is getting down into Ice Beam range. Unfortunately, they do reach their next Earthquake beforehand, so going to end up letting that one go, and this Ice Beam is going to fire. This would take the G-Fisk out. I could have undercharged it a little bit to try to bubble down, but I figured my opponent's switch timer might be up, and I don't want them to just farm some energy on G-Fisk and then get out. There's an Azumarill in the back, so there was a Ninetales in the lead. Why is there an Azumarill in the back? Like, what would happen if there was a Nidoqueen in the lead? I guess the Ninetales was running Power Snow, but still. ABA Fairy? I guess. Lantern in the lead would have been really tough for this team also. My gosh. Anyway, it's early season, so I'm not judging. No one... I'm clearly judging, but, it's early in the season, so it's fine. It's fine. You can run whatever you want right now, right? Like... It's fine. My team has plenty of holes in it, I'm sure. Can't think of what they are off the top of my head, but, this game was still incredibly close, all things considered. So that's a GG. But yeah. ABA Fairy? What? Alright, next up against Suppage. I'm clearly judging. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't be judging. It's early in the season. You can do whatever you want. Alright, Venusaur into Dubwool. So, I am outpacing slightly, and I'm just going to throw this Body Slam. It's clearly going to take 2 Body Slams and then a double kick farm down. So I'm going to no-shield this first Frenzy Plant. It does a lot. And I totally miscounted because I wasn't counting at all. And I ended up losing CMP, throwing this Body Slam, and my opponent lets it go, which is fine. So I'm going to end up farming down. Probably about where I would have ended regardless, and now I am just spamming out my Wild Charge because I'm only going to get off one move, and if it's something that, both of them hit for neutral, Wild Charge will do a little bit more damage. It does like 40% more damage than a Body Slam does. 40%? 30%? Maybe like 30. And awkwardly for me, there is a Water Gun Lantern in the back, which I'm used to seeing Lantern with Spark. Most Lanterns are running Spark. This one's running Water Gun, and that makes it really awkward because now the Water Gun is going to do super effective damage to my Nidoqueen. I'm going to have to shield this Surf, which they get to a little bit slower. And there's a Stunfisk in the back, which is, not great for my Nidoqueen. I could have built up to, and maybe it would have been the play to build up to the the Earth Power and then bait to try to debuff them. And I could also have just thrown the Hydro Pump, but, I decided to bait Ice Beam. My opponent shields. That is fine. Earthquake gonna go through. There's a decent chance they're assuming that I'm running Ice Beam Play Rough. I throw this Ice Beam here when I probably should have built up to the Hydro Pump. I was really expecting them to end up shielding anyway. Lantern's going to come back out. It Water Guns me. I could have swapped out, and I absolutely should have, and banked that Ice Beam. Instead, I ended up throwing that, coming out with Nidoqueen. I'm spamming out this Poison Fang, hoping that maybe my opponent would shield, but even if they did, it wouldn't change anything because I did not bank a move on Azumarill, so yeah, I'm going to end up eating this Earthquake on my Nidoqueen, and I'm going to get Mud-Shotted down before I'm able to bubble this G-Fisk out of existence. So that is a GG. That was a really close game. I did not play that out as well as I could have. All right, Dubwool into Diggersby. So this is a kind of neutralish matchup. The plan for Diggersby obviously is just to go straight Earthquake. My Body Slams are hitting for neutral, and I'm doing super effective damage with my double kicks. So this, it looks on paper like it would be a kind of positive matchup. I decided to shield the first Earthquake, really not expecting them to try to Fire Punch bait Dubwool, because Dubwool would easily survive an Earthquake anyway. But my plan is to leave this matchup with Dubwool with some energy. They swap out into Frostlass, and I am going to go straight for the Wild Charge here. I get a shield, which is fantastic for me, and now I'm going to swap out into Azumarill. Azumarill doesn't need to shield in this matchup. My Azumarill is an XL Azumarill. It is super, super thick. So I can just let the Shadow Ball go. It does that much damage, which is a lot, and I should have thrown one bubble before throwing this Hydro Pump, but I figured if I just threw it right away, there was a better chance they would no-shield, and they did no-shield. I don't know if that was because I, like, spammed it out right away, or if they would have no-shielded regardless. All the same, I'm going to get to this Hydro against the Alola Ninetales. I get the last shield off of them, which is fine for me, and this Alola Ninetales is running Charm. So, just going to send out Nidoqueen. I am going to end up having to shield once because, I mean, they're going to get to 2 Weather Balls. I could have shielded the first one, but ended up, you know, letting that one go. They swap out into Diggersby, which was kind of something that I was, you know, expecting maybe would happen. And they ended up throwing a Fire Punch, which if I hadn't caught that, I don't think it would have quite KO'd my my Nidoqueen anyway. But Dubwool is going to be able to just Body Slam that Diggersby, and now I'm going to reach the Wild Charge, because Body Slam would have maybe been almost enough to KO, but yeah, just get a little bit more damage, make sure that I can secure that win with that Wild Charge. I managed to take that game. It's GG. Alright, next up against Jay's RJ. Dubwool into Jumpluff. This is not a favorable matchup for me, but they swap out immediately into Mawile. I'm not sure what this is supposed to bait out. Maybe a Stunfisk or something, but I'm just going to throw Wild Charge, and they let it go, and it does so much damage because Shadow Mawile is very, very squishy. If Mawile does not resist moves, it takes so much damage. This Mawile is running Fairy Wind, so it does charge its moves kind of quickly. And this Jumpluff is also running Fairy Wind. But my Azumarill's Ice Beam is double super effective, do a ton of damage to Jumpluff. I don't think it actually KOs Jumpluff, to be honest. And I'm going to no-shield this. It's definitely going to be an Energy Ball. And Azumarill actually survives. I'm able to spam out this, or to undertap to get to this Ice Beam. I get the last shield. And this Jumpluff is building up energy pretty quickly because, you know, Fairy Wind is a Mudshot clone, so it builds up energy really fast. I don't know what else is back there, so I'm going to shield this first Energy Ball, which, you know, that also means I'm probably going to shield the second Energy Ball, because Energy Ball has a chance to debuff, so if you're planning to only shield one and you're planning to eat one, then, you know, definitely let the first one go. And it turns out there is a Swampert in the back. I swap out into Dubwool to try to catch the Hydro Cannon, and I successfully do, although that's pretty much, they would have thrown the Hydro Cannon anyway. Just going to spam out this Body Slam as soon as I have it. That's going to put them into Earth Power range. Also puts them into Body Slam range if they, you know, if I decide to shield here. I don't remember what I ended up doing. Yes, I decided to shield here because I'm going to outpace. Gonna throw this Body Slam. They're just, that last Mudshot that they're getting gives them the energy for their Hydro Cannon, but I'm gonna be able to take them out before they can throw it. Jumpluff's gonna come out. They're gonna have to throw a move, and they're gonna have to throw it before I get to a Body Slam. So that is going to take out my my Dubwool, but my Nidoqueen already had a Poison Jab loaded, a Poison Fang loaded. So just gonna spam that out, and that is gonna take out the Jumpluff, and that is gonna secure that game. That was GG. Clear out another set. That is another 4-1. I get a Poliwag, which, whatever. It's fine. I'm not going to get a Legendary, so it's okay. Alright, into this next set against Sushi Craver. Oh, I want Sushi now. Alright, Dubwool into Marowak. So, this is, I mean, my fast moves are doing like nothing, and you know I'm definitely not willing to bait the Body Slam because there's almost no chance they would end up shielding. I'm also not going to bother shielding this because it's just going to be a Bone Club. And even though I dropped my defense, Bone Club is just, it does so little damage that it's like fine. I probably should have built up back-to-back Wild Charge before throwing this one. Because if I wasn't debuffed here, I think I would have been able to survive this Bone Club and get to another Body Slam. So, yeah, waiting longer to throw the Wild Charges was definitely what I was supposed to do. I don't know why I was spamming them out if I wasn't planning to swap out later. So there's an Azumarill in the back, and I swap out into Nidoqueen. There's a Machamp there, and yeah, I have a slight energy lead against Machamp. We reach our moves at the same speed. I resist everything Machamp throws, and yeah, their backline actually just has like no play against Nidoqueen. So just, you know, ended up being kind of lucky there with what I had left over in the back, but I managed to take that game. All right, next up against Starf the Person. Dubwool into Trevenant. So this is bad. This team is ABA weak to Trevenant. How you can run Dubwool with an Azumarill in the back? What do you do against a Trevenant lead? Yes, I know. I ragged on the other person earlier for running ABA Fairy, and I have no answer to a tree. So, yeah. Trevenant is pretty meta. Why I have no answer to it? I don't know. Like, Dubwool isn't horrific against Trevenant, to be perfectly honest. It's just kind of bad against Trevenant because, you know, the Shadow Claws do nothing. It would take more than 2 Seed Bombs to take Dubwool out, so I could have stayed in there and played it out, but I decided to just build up a bunch of energy instead and bank that. Hopefully I'll be able to, you know, use it later. So I am not going to bait here, just going to go straight Earth Power. If my opponent shields, I am totally fine with that. I was hoping for that, actually, because now I'm going to come with my Azumarill and I am going to go for a huge farm. Steelix has recently gotten Psychic Fangs, so the normal set for Steelix is Psychic Fangs and Crunch. Azumarill resists Crunch. Psychic Fangs doesn't do that much damage because it's non-stab, and I resist the Dragon Tails, double resisting them with my Fairy type subtyping, and yeah, there is a Lantern in the back, and I'm running an Azumarill with no play rough. Why am I doing that to myself? I'm not sure. So Azumarill really can't kill this Lantern. And Azumarill also would have, you know, a really difficult time with this Trevenant. I built up a bunch of excess energy because, you know, I'm going to need to throw something in. I don't want to get too much. I don't want to give too much farm to Lantern either. So I'm built up to 100 energy. Now I'm going to throw this Wild Charge. That's actually enough to KO Trevenant. So really, I probably should have stayed in with Dubwool in the first place. And I swap out Dubwool with a Body Slam loaded. So all I need to do is get a shield off of this Lantern. I successfully do with that Ice Beam. And this Lantern is definitely in Body Slam range, and Dubwool wins CMP 100%, but I desync a turn when my Dubwool comes back in, so I end up losing CMP, you know, which isn't really supposed to happen, but sometimes it does. The mechanics are still kind of inconsistent this season, but yeah. So feeling very robbed that game because it was 100. I was 100% supposed to win that, but then I didn't. So I don't know. We're actually not 100% clear on if it's super inconsistent or if you're supposed to, like, you're supposed to, on paper, take a turn to swap in, which is a terrible mechanic. Like, if that's how it's intended to be, it really shouldn't, because that's an awful, it lowers the skill ceiling so much, and it makes banking moves make less sense if you'll always not be able to throw it right away. It's just, if it's supposed to be like that, that's terrible. So it's super inconsistent. Usually it still doesn't take a turn when you swap in, but like, it's supposed to, and it really, that's an awful idea. But you know, so was I robbed, or is the game just designed poorly? I'm not sure. I lost that game. I'm just gonna move on. The claim still bothers me. So yeah, what happened in this game? I don't know. I was ranting about the last one, but I'm gonna bubble down this Ninetales. So my opponent now he doesn't have swap, and also I'm up a shield, so that's fine. And I think my Dubwool has energy, so I end up sending Nidoqueen out, and my opponent sent out their Umbreon, and then they resigned the game. So who knows what else was back there? Something that was not going to be good against Nidoqueen. Okay, Dubwool into Registeel. So I hadn't run Sims on this matchup at all. I just assumed that Dubwool would probably be adequate, right? So I'm just going to spam out my Wild Charge because I want to throw that before I get debuffed by a Zap Cannon bait in case they decide to do that. And they go straight for the Focus Blast, and that's fine. Like, I've lowered my defense, but I was going to end up having to shield that anyway. I am going to throw this wild charge here. And I was really hoping this would be sufficient to KO, and it just isn't. So I swap out into Nidoqueen. My opponent also insta-swaps to their Frostlass, so maybe I was going to be able to double-kick that Registeel down before it reached a move, but it really looked to me like it was going to be able to make it. So why did I shield this? I don't know. Honestly, I'm feeling super, super dead this game. I'm just going to spam out this next Poison Fang, which horribly is going to enable this Frostlass to build up a ton of extra energy, because they're totally safe to do so. They build up and throw this Avalanche. I have done an awful lot of damage, so I'm like okay-ish with that. Now I'm going to send a Zoomerl out and go for a farm down. But like, what's my plan for Registeel? Like, clearly the Regi is going to be able to KO me. I swap out into my Dubwool to try to catch a Zap Cannon, because I figured they were going to go for the combo play, and they do. So I catch this Zap Cannon. That's fantastic for me. Frostlass is going to come back out. I know they have a decent amount of residual energy, so I'm just going to spam out this Body Slam. That is enough to take out the Frostlass, and there's a Trevenant in the back, which I don't have a good way of taking out anyway. I'm just going to throw this Wild Charge. My opponent has seen both moves, so they know I don't have Payback. Dubwool can learn Payback. They shield anyway, which is fine, because I have no play anyway, right? Like, they're clearly going to get to 2 Seed Bombs before I get to an Ice Beam, and spoilers, Trevenant doesn't die to a single Ice Beam anyway, so, yeah. I'm 100% dead in this game. I could have just retreated. There was no reason for me to leave my Azumarill in there to get pummeled, but I did, so that's kind of, bad trainer for me. Yeah, you're not supposed to leave your Pokemon in when it's going to get beat. Ash on Cinnabar Island, if there's no hope, you're supposed to resign. But, yeah. So yeah, Dubwool into Drapion. So, just like other Pokemon that get to their charge move in 5 2-turn fast moves, I outpace slightly. No shield the first crunch because it might end up debuffing. I could have spammed out my Body Slam, but since they would have survived it anyway, I decided to just, not give them free turns, go for double kicks first. And I'm going to throw this here before they're able to reach an Aqua Tail in case they've got that. That's going to be enough to KO, and there is a Sableye left over in the back. Now, I could have thrown a few more double kicks and built up excess energy before throwing this Wild Charge, but I decided to just throw it and then swap out immediately into a Azumarill. There's a Stunfisk in the back, so this is actually fantastic because Azumarill is already my best counter to Stunfisk. I built up to the Hydro Pump, and I am going to go straight Ice Beam. And I'm going to no-shield this first move, which turns out to be an Earthquake, and that's fine. I'm not sure if I was expecting them to shield or not. It just felt like it was safe for me to go Ice Beam. I'm going to be able to get to Ice Beams, about as fast as Stunfisk gets to Earthquake. And what I really didn't want was for them to end up, shielding Hydro Pumps, baiting me. And I ended up shielding a bait anyway, shield a Rock Slide. But at this point, they're so low, they're not going to get to another move, so there's really no reason for them to bait there. Yeah, Sableye is going to come back out, and that's fine. I'm just going to send out Nidoqueen. I'm going to no-shield this move. Oh, I'm going to shield this move, I guess, because it could have been a return. Ended up being a foul play. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get any damage off that I can, lower their defense with my Poison Fangs. They decide to no-shield and just resign the game, because Azumarill is going to be able to bubble them down. Too hard for them to Shadow Claw down to Dubwool. There's just, yeah, with that defense drop, they would just go down to fast move damage. So I managed to salvage that set. I get a Phantom, which is fantastic. That's like one of the best Pokemon I could hope for in the current reward pool. I go up to rank number 17, which is not an accomplishment because it's just you get there from number of wins, not from, you don't have to have positive sets. And yeah, so that is my team. My overall impression of Dubwool is that it's actually pretty decent. Although a lot of times, sometimes it just feels like a bad Vigoroth. It's kind of like a Vigoroth with less emphasis on fast move pressure and a better coverage move, because Wild Charge is a much better coverage move than Vigoroth's Bulldoze. Has a couple of different matchups. I don't think I played it as well as I could have. Clearly it has a better matchup against Trevenant than I thought at the time, because I kept swapping out of those, and, maybe I could have just stayed in, gone for Wild Charges. They ended up doing a lot more damage than I expected. But yeah. If you like this content, don't forget to do the things you know you're supposed to do at the ends of videos. You know what you're supposed to do. I don't have to tell you specifically. And I will see you guys on the next one.